We'd like to begin this podcast by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land on which we meet today, the Whadjuk Noongar people, and pay our respects to elders past, present and emerging. Runaway. How's that singing, Mel?
Yeah.
Welcome back. Hi. How are
Hi,
you?
good.
Well, that intro song's a bit different from normal. That is a song by the Ded Bets called Runaway.
Yes.
It's relevant.
It is very relevant.
Shall I keep it secret why it's relevant?
Yeah, for a little bit longer.
All right. This is double digits, Mel.
I know.
10 episodes. Prepubescent, Gem, are we?
Tweens.
We're tweens. So, thanks for listening, everyone. The listener base is building. Mel, I don't know if you're aware of this, but last time I mentioned we had 11 countries listening to us.
Yeah.
Guess what we're up to now?
13?
Incredible.
That was a guess. That was a
great
guess.
Thanks for listening, everyone. A little WA podcast is gone worldwide.
Brilliant.
So welcome back, everyone. Today we've got an awesome episode.
Yes.
We are recording this one on what they call Australia Day. I'm not going to say Happy Australia Day because for many of our brothers and sisters in this country, this is not a happy day. It's a day imbued with loss and with trauma. I'd suggest that it's not unreasonable that we change the date.
100%.
What should we do? Let's do our regular segment, Mel. Shout-outs and promos. Mel, there's a petition coming up, 2024 petition.
That's right. Oh, my God, they're doing it again. But yes, we are. We're in it till the very, very end. So it launches. It will be sort of the last week of February, and it will be definitely going by the beginning of March.
Yep.
We have a milestone, if you like, or a target of 30,000 signatures. WA residents are able to sign it.
Yep.
You need to be 10 years old and plus, and just follow us on social media and
freethehounds.com.au.
Yep. And if you can even just pledge it to your friend, pledge it to yourself, pledge it to your greyhound, that you will get another 10 people. And before we know it, it will be over the line.
And it's been growing, hasn't it? Each petition each year has gone up by thousands, hundreds or thousands.
Yep. Brad Pettit, the West Australian Green MLC, will be tabling it for us again at the end of 2024. And we also have the backing of our wonderful Labor members who are part of the Parliamentary Friends of the Greyhound group. Yeah.
So thanks, Brad. Thank you for your support, and thanks to those other members of Parliament who are jumping on board to end this sustainable, inhumane, outdated sport. Please sign the petition.
Yeah.
Freethehounds.com.au. Where else can they sort of get info, or is there sort of things they can go to?
Yeah, so we've actually got our first event for the year, which will be Hyde Park Fair, which is always a really good fair for us. Wonderful people, and also lots of dog-friendly activities there. On the Monday, I believe it is, there's a dog competition. And we will be there with, our QR codes, posters, things like that. If you are a coffee shop owner or have a retail outlet of some kind and you would like to help us, then please, we have posters and flyers that we're very happy to get to you to put around your store.
Awesome. And that's the 3rd and 4th of March.
That's
in
correct.
Hyde Park.
Yep.
Be there. Probably some volleys would be helpful, right? The more volleys, the better. The more volunteers we can have to get out, reach out, be petitioners. How can they help?
Absolutely. Like I said, with not only can restaurants and cafes and things like that help us and retail outlets, but also, just any member of the public, as I said before, that wishes to pledge, getting X amount of signatures. We can also send you paper copies so that you can, have your friends sign it. Those can be tabled separately as well. And anybody that wants to help us at any events, or if you are going along yourself to a dog-friendly or an animal-friendly event, we will send you a QR code caption, or alternatively you can have our social media open on your phone and you can get people to scan that. And please, any ideas like that, email us.
Yes, at podcast@freethehounds.com.au. It's very simple. So thanks for that, and please join the cause to release the hounds. Speaking of, getting in touch with podcast@freethehounds.com.au, our friend Stuart, those of you who remember Christmas Eve episode, I think it was, wasn't that awesome?
Yeah.
She's awesome, Eve.
Yeah.
Hi, Eve. You're the best. Stuart sent in an email with some questions for Eve, And apparently they were very helpful. Eve, you were very helpful. Boomer was the one who started growling at people when they would try and sort of pat him and reach out. Do you remember that one?
Yeah, I do.
So Stuart has sent back, he said, "Hi, please pass our thanks on to the team. There was a couple of really useful points that Eve made that we have put into action." Well done, Stuart, and well done, Eve.
And what about Boomer? Well done, Boomer.
Oh, sorry, Boomer. He's the star of the show. Boomer, you little growly fella. I hope you're being a little more civil to strangers. Or maybe the strangers should be more civil to Boomer.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So thanks for that, Stuart. All righty, Mel, what have we got? What are the awful stats we've got?
Okay, so today we've got the 2023 roundup. We finalised those last week. The hardest one was the 17 greyhounds that were killed on track. Now, 13 of those were at Cannington, which made Cannington the deadliest track in the country for 2023, which is really appalling.
Well done, WA.
Yeah, I know. Woohoo. Well, didn't we get an award for Optus and for RAC Arena? Well, we got the deadliest track as well for greyhound racing. Okay. I hope our Premier's pleased with his ministers. Yeah, so that was really miserable. Oh, and one of those, killed were on Mandurah after the $6.6 million upgrade that was supposed to be safer for greyhounds. After the upgrade, the same amount, 7 suffered major injuries before and after, but 1 died after.
Wow. Waste of money and a waste of a beautiful life.
Exactly. So for 90-day stand-downs, which are dogs that suffered from a major broken bone or injury that caused them to immediately cease racing, there was 87 greyhounds.
Wow.
So you figure that out over 52 weeks.
But that that's painful to hear.
60-day stand-downs, there was 5. There was 6 of them suffered torn ligaments, sprains, dislocations. They weren't able to race for 30 days. 77 greyhounds were stood down for 28-day periods. Over 300 of them suffered lacerations, groin and calf soreness, cramping, dehydration, broken tails, loose teeth, sprains and seizures, spinal pain, tail wounds, sprung toes. I mean, I just don't know how our government can possibly continue to support it. It just goes on. 512 suffered no apparent injury, and these dogs had fallen, collided and stumbled during their race, but apparently were uninjured after being seen by the on-track vet, who, by the way, has no diagnostic equipment whatsoever on the track. There was also a further 856 that were injured off track. So we'll never know what happened to those ones because it all occurred off track. The only reason we even know about those is that they were scratched from their race and they were scratched due to injury. So over $16 million was given out in prize money. There was over $2 million given to trainers for putting a dog on the track, and over $1 million for breeding bonuses to put more dogs on the track to be injured and to be rehomed by organisations that are already overflowing and unable to care for the dogs that they already have. So do better, Labor. We've got an election coming up next year.
Sign the petition, guys.
You have to. Make a pledge, people. Add your name to our petition to end greyhound racing.
And for those listeners, you already know how awful this is and how beautiful and gentle they are. For listeners who maybe haven't had the pleasure and honour of having a beautiful creature along those friends as part of the family, maybe you have other breeds of dogs. Maybe you've got a golden lab, maybe you've got a bulldog, maybe you've got a poodle, whatever they are. Just imagine that list of injuries that Mel just read out. Would you put any of those dogs through that? Would you allow that to happen time and time again, week after week? Death, cruelty, injury. So if you give a shit, please turn up and sign the petition. All right, here we go. This is the favourite part of my podcast today because we have a very special guest on today who's donated his time. Thank you very much. We have Indy Davies, and for those of you who don't know who Indy Davies is, he's a filmmaker who likes underdog stories to explore social issues and inspire change, which is exactly what we're all about at Talking Couch Potatoes. Indy has produced and made and directed and written one of the most beautiful films, which I hope you'll see. It's called The Little Grey Film, which is a touching film uncovering the hidden truths of greyhound racing and the joys of pet adoption. Official selection for the Rome Outcast Independent Film Awards, the Sofa Film Festival, the Melbourne Liftoff Film Festival, the International World Film Awards, and it's doing pretty well because all premieres in all states have sold out. I'll probably ask Indy how people can get to it anyway. Hello, Indy.
Hi, couch potatoes.
Hello.
How you doing?
That was a long intro, but you've done quite a bit.
That was fantastic. I couldn't have said it better myself.
I'm glad I got it right. And Mel obviously is here with me as well.
Hi, Indy. Thank you so much again. I know I've said it to you several times over the last few weeks for doing what you've done to help the greyhounds. It means so much to all of us.
Well, yeah, thank you. It's a privilege for me as well. And I'm just, loving that everyone's enjoying the film.
Yeah, it's really taken off. It really gives an insight into just how beautiful and gentle these creatures are, and it really puts a contrast into the way we treat these creatures and what we sort of make them do. So that's what stood out for me, Indy.
I mean, at a lot of the premieres, I met so many people who didn't really know anything about greyhounds and saw the film and came away with, not just a knowledge of greyhounds, but like a love for them and a curiosity for this amazing breed.
That's awesome.
So yeah, it's been really rewarding.
That's fantastic because I'm a convert. I grew up thinking going to the dogs, as Dad would put it, was great fun. When my wife first suggested getting a greyhound, I was like, what are you talking about? They're racing dogs and they're scrawny and they're ugly and they're not pets.
Yep.
And now I'm like, cancel all the other breeds. We've got the perfect version of, So I've become quite a zealot.
Yeah, as do a lot of people, I think.
It's more like entering a cult than entering, a breed of ownership.
Yeah, and I think, who doesn't love dogs, right? And then when you meet a greyhound, they're the kindest, sweetest, most gentle version of the dog. So it's really hard not to fall in love with them.
Oh, it's extraordinary. They emanate a type of love and affection that I've never experienced from animals or humans, frankly. All right, first of all, just curious, what sort of got you into making films?
You know what? It was something I've always loved and always had a passion for, but it just didn't feel like it could be a reality for me. But eventually I just started doing it just as an independent filmmaker. I'm like, I'm just going to go out there and make something myself.
Kind of do it yourself kind of way. Yeah,
that's right. And then, so the first one that I made, it went really well. And so I was like, okay, maybe I'm onto something here. I don't know if it was my filmmaking as much as it was the content, because that film was Georgie, which was about my greyhound when I first got her. So yeah, and I just had this old film camera.
Yep.
And I was just messing around. We'd recently adopted Georgie as well. And then I watched the footage back. I'm like, this is actually really captivating.
Yeah, right.
Just the emotion in her eyes is amazing. So while I was watching that back, I was imagining, what she was saying and that sort of thing. So, yeah, that's how that kind of came about. Right. And then, of course, when I made the Little Grey film, I couldn't help but put her in there.
Of course.
Oh, she has to be in it.
Yeah.
She's your inspiration.
Well, that's right. It was all inspired by her. Yeah.
That was my next question, actually. What sort of inspired the idea for the Little Grey film? I'm imagining your experience of being Georgie's dad would have been a big part of it.
Yeah. It was a real lightning bolt moment for me. My films have always got some element of a social issue or something in them. I can't help it, but I was making these other little documentaries and I was writing this huge big narrative film and kind of got stuck in writer's block, and I was like, you know what, I've got a greyhound right here. I really don't know a lot about the industry or where she came from, so why don't I find out more about that? And yeah, so it kind of happened overnight. I mean, I didn't know a lot about the industry. I wasn't involved in the community at all, to my regret now. So yeah, I just Googled and I came across Coalition for the Protection of Greyhounds.
Yes.
Who, yeah, as you well know, are an advocacy group, and they do a lot of work around the research around the greyhound industry. And yeah.
And so it sounds like you had a bit of luck in terms of sort of getting these people that you needed to talk to together. Was there a bit of serendipitous stuff going on there?
It felt really serendipitous. It felt like kismet, but what it really was the passion of these people. So I got in touch with CPG, who got back to me straight away, to my surprise, and they were like, you need to speak to our local director, Annie, who basically just said, oh, here's who you need to talk to. And she gave me a list. And I reached out to all these people, you know, other organisations like Friends of the Hound, and then Amy McMahon from the Greens in Brisbane, and then Georgie Purcell. And to my surprise, they all got back to me, and they were all really passionate about the movie and obviously the topic of greyhounds.
That's awesome.
So, yeah.
That's fantastic. It's the passion that stands out. There's something that these creatures imbue you with that just makes you want to nurture, protect, you know, and keep safe. How long, Indy, did it take you to make the film?
Well, these people got back to me really fast. So I'm like, I've got all the tools. I'm just going to dive in and make this thing. So, yeah, I called up some friends who are amazing camera people, actually, and then organised shoots for basically the next week. So, yeah, just really went in hot, and I think we got all the interviews done over a couple of weeks. And then afterwards, I went straight into editing it myself, which took a little bit longer. But, yeah, we got the whole thing done, I think, in a month or two.
Wow. That's incredible.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah. When I look back now, it feels like it must have been a fever dream.
But it doesn't it show you that sometimes the best laid plans aren't necessarily what you need to be looking for?
Yeah, and I'm sure filmmaking peers would kill me for saying that I didn't have a script or whatever, but speaking to these people, I'm like, I don't have to write anything here. I'm just going to go and talk to them.
I'm guessing, though, that it's a labour of love and a passion project, but there must have been some difficulties, some barriers. What sort of was the hardest thing for you about making the film?
Oh, yeah, that's a good question. The hardest thing about making the film, I think, was just learning all of the stuff. I was kind of ignorant to a lot of the things that go on in the greyhound industry and to our greyhound friends. So learning that, it was quite harrowing and kind of emotional at times.
I can empathise 100% with that. And when I watch a little part of your film, Indy, which I think is painful to watch but necessary to watch, of the pain that these dogs have to endure so that we can chuck a bet on, it really hits home.
Yeah. It does, yeah. Yeah, it was difficult. There was so much footage that I saw too, and it was so hard to watch. And like you said, these dogs inspire empathy, so it's this weird paradox. But then I think in the end, we kind of put together a film that gets that message across, but hopefully isn't too uncomfortable for people.
No, I think you've struck a beautiful balance. Maybe on a more positive note, what was the most rewarding part of making the film?
Wow, there's so many to list. I mean, working with dogs, it was amazing. I've never been on a shoot with dogs before, and we were actually sitting with them on the couches, you know, interacting with them, watching them play. That was like a dream come true.
There was a part in there, Indy, in the film that I really loved, where you speak about the difficulties Georgie had. And then later in the film, you show Georgie playing with the ball. And I think at one point you're sitting on the couch talking about Georgie and how proud you are and happy you are that she's sort of developed this personality. And she looks across at you, almost like, yeah, you're right, thanks, Dad.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really lovely.
Yeah, I mean, obviously working with my dogs was great. Meeting all of the people, everyone there is just so nice. And having not known this community before, that was really rewarding for me, and still is now that I'm talking to everyone. Obviously, the other thing is just how much people really like the film and are willing to support it and raise money for the organisation. That's been super rewarding.
Yeah, I think that was the biggest thing that I felt watching the film, the fact that you just got it, that understanding. Yeah, but it was just, this is it. This is what I've been trying to tell people or articulate for so long.
There's an ease to connect with it, isn't it?
Absolutely.
There's a capacity to connect that those who have these beautiful long-nosed friends will understand.
Yep.
And those that don't need to understand.
Exactly.
Yeah, beautiful. So what can people do if people want to check out the film?
Yes, okay. We are going to release it worldwide online at some point.
Yep.
But I would say jump onto the website,
littlegreyfilm.com.
That's the one. And and stay tuned.
What are you thinking of the success, Indy?
In all honesty, I cannot tell you how surprised I am. And now I can understand it because I'm part of the community now. I've met all of the organisations like Free the Hounds who are helping greyhounds, and I know about the passion that's involved. Before I started making the film, I was really ignorant to that. So I just thought, I'm making something about something I'm passionate in, which is my dog.
Yeah.
But I did not realize the force that the greyhound community was. And now I can say that I'm not surprised, because I've just had so much help from the community, not just the people in the film, but just everybody else who selflessly wants to help spread the message and support it. So, yeah, it's been fantastic.
Well, you're a very welcome member of the Free the Hounds, Save the Hounds, Release the Hounds, Protect the Hounds community. So thank you for all the work you've done as well. Mel, did you ever...
Yeah, Indy, I was just going to ask, through this process, why do you believe that greyhound racing still exists in this country? I mean, what do you think that advocates could do differently?
Oh, yeah. That's a really tough question. Thanks, Mel.
Sorry.
I think the industry and the influence it has comes from the top. So I think the fact that it is still supported by the government and gambling profits and all of that sort of stuff needs to change. But in saying that, I think that people have the power. So all I really wanted to do was just observe and report on these things and hopefully inspire people to get involved.
Yeah, sure. So we're very lucky here in WA in that we do have members of the current parliament, 3 from Labor who are in state government at the moment, and then also Brad Pettit from the Greens.
Yep.
And I can say that they were blown away by the film also, because that's what we need, is things like your movie that we can show to people more regularly in the regular community that aren't aware or may not have heard. Because I think spreading the word, like you say, people power, that's what's going to make the change and raise awareness.
Yeah, my experience was that it felt really, even though there's so much bad still going on, it's still absolutely horrendous, the industry. There's so much hope and so much positivity and so much positive change. And I think that the people are mobilizing for these animals. And that's what it felt like to me making it.
And it's funny that you say that. I think we as advocates across the nation feel more positive than we've ever done. And for the first time, we're actually all meeting together next month in Melbourne. So we've never come together nationally before. So we'll have advocates from every state, rescues from every state, some members of parliament from Animals Australia, the RSPCA, Animal Lib, and we're all going to talk about what we can do to end greyhound racing nationally. So you're right there. I think we've been more hopeful than ever before. Yeah. And surely you have to have your head buried in the sand if you don't realise the harm that it's causing, not only to the greyhounds, but also to members of the community through gambling problems as well. And it's just going to be a moral question that any government is going to have to face eventually.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
I agree 100% with you guys, but I think what you've done, Indy, and what I think Mel is pointing to is sharing something that can be felt on a humanistic level that will actually connect with people and maybe, inspire change in a more intangible way. And once again, all proceeds, which is just lovely, all proceeds are going to Greyhound Charities. Thank you very, very much.
Yeah, well, I was just going to say, and also follow these organisations working for greyhounds, because, the volunteers just work tirelessly. So, follow them and donate to them while you're at it.
So just brilliant work. Thank you so much for the time you've given us today. Also, our listeners, if you've got any thoughts about today, send them in. It's podcast@freethehounds.com.au. Indy's production company is called Bad Publicity. I love that name, Indy, because it's kind of what we want for the greyhound racing industry to a degree, isn't it?
That's what I thought, yeah. Some people don't like it, but we're making noise.
Let's make some more noise.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you. And more of it. Thank you all so much for having me on the podcast. It's been a pleasure. Great to chat about, obviously, stuff that I'm doing but also with just legends like yourself. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
And you've been amazing, Indy. It's been a pleasure having you on, and can't wait to see what you do next.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much,
See ya.
Indy. See you later. Take care.
So, guys, that brings to a close episode 10. Double digits, Mel.
Double digits. I'm surprised we didn't kill each other on the way.
We have a
I'm kidding.
We have a love-hate relationship, me and Mel. I love her. She hates me.
No, actually, it's been a lot of fun, guys. Thank you. And I hope it continues.
Maybe
we're here until these people sign the petition and it ends.
Yeah, right. So thanks for listening, everyone. Don't forget, please give us some feedback. We love feedback, don't we, Mel?
We do.
Podcast at freethehounds.com.au. Next episode, please tune in as well, because we've got another super duper guest. We've got the president of the Coalition for the Protection of Greyhounds,
Andrea Pollard. She's lovely.
So I'm looking forward to talking to Andrea. Other than that, I guess let's just keep listening, keep rating the podcast. Please keep sharing the podcast so that we can all get together to release the hound.